Welcome to the Celebration of You. I'm your host, Holly Dowling. I'm thrilled to share with you incredible people from all over the world who are living and leading extraordinary lives. From overcoming immense adversity to discovering the secret sauce to leading with courage and grace. Their stories are going to bring you hope and inspiration. Now, let the stories begin. Are you there?
It's perfect.
Okay.
It's all good.
It's part of the story. And for the world to know that right now as we're recording, I just had to reconnect with who I'm so excited to introduce you to, one of the most, and I'm going to use these two words very, very lightly and yet with profound statement. And that is one of the most beautiful and brilliant women that I've had the luxury and privilege of getting to know. So may I introduce you, world, to the incredible Ingrid Vanderveldt. Ingrid, thank you, my darling. What's it like to be the most beautiful and brilliant?
Oh, you tell all your guests that, but it makes us all feel so special, and I am so appreciative.
No, and you really are. And I'm so excited because literally getting to know you. Okay, so I'm literally traveling yesterday, and I'm thinking that I get to interview and have Ingrid and get to spend time with you. And I was like, so I kid you not, I'm literally at an airport, right? And I'm traveling through thinking about this day going, you know what makes you so magnificent? And I don't know that I've ever met somebody that actually has this impact on the world. And that is that, and I'm going to get a little emotional, but when I'm in your presence and I've been with you at huge events, small events, I mean, we were just in DC at the United Nations, and Ingrid, every time I'm with you, you make every person in your presence feel like they're the only one that matters. Do you know that?
Oh, thank you. No, I so appreciate that. Thank you so much, because you even saying that, it's so neat that it reminds me of my father's father, my opa from Holland, and he had 32 grandkids, and we each, he made each one of us feel like we were his favorite and his most special. And I always thought, oh my gosh, I just love this man. And, as you know, I'm very spiritual. I meditate every day. And when I'm in that place and I'm just listening and I'm hearing divine truth, it always comes to me in my opa's voice. So you saying that, taking a deep breath and just thanking God, what a gift. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that.
Well, it was interesting and it was fascinating because it's so true. And I was thinking about every time I've been with you and even on the phone with you and knowing some of which we can't share with everybody yet, some very exciting things, but we're sitting in the United Nations and she's there. So Ingrid, I mean, I could tell everybody, I mean, we do need to announce, I need to let people know that like you are like this amazing woman that is the creator and founder of Empowering a Billion Women 2020, which I know a lot of people know. I've become passionate about this. You have an amazing resume. You're the host of, CNBC's American Made. You've done the Billionaires Girls Club. I mean, the list goes on and on, all that you've done. And what makes you so amazing is we're sitting there at the United Nations because you're on the board for Girl Up. Mm-hmm. And this is why I love you. We're sitting there having a conversation and we're in the middle of doing our thing and you're giving me your full and undivided attention. And then it's like, okay, all of a sudden I'm like, I knew you had to go somewhere. And I'm like, where did Ingrid go? And they go, oh, she had a meeting at the White House.
Yes. Okay. I will. That's so neat. I tell my husband, it's funny. It started really happening a few years ago while I was the entrepreneur in residence at Dell. And thank you, God. You can't script this kind of thing. And I will tell you one quick note. I told you I was a daily meditator. My life truly transformed the moment back in 2011 that I handed my life over 100% in service to what I was called to do. Uh-huh. And when I authentically connected with that and authentically allowed myself to be leveraged as an instrument for, what I was called to do, you cannot script the kind of things that happen. And so it's funny because a few years ago, I got home from one of these trips and I'm looking at my husband and, I was like, so how was your day? And, he's telling me everything. And he's like, how was your day? And I told him some of the things going on, meeting with these world leaders. And I just looked at him and I said, it just sounds so silly and ridiculous. What do you even say? And I will tell you that is amazing as that is. And now I'll share this for those women and men that might be listening to this, who, when you really own that calling, it is the most amazing thing in the world. And at the same time, it can also be a very lonely thing. And I say that, and that's where that connection to source becomes so, so, so important. Because yes, things like that happen. And you get to this place that you think, wow, what do you even say? We're just everyday people living these extraordinary lives. So surrounding yourself with your sisters that you love and you trust, and staying connected to source and following that authentic calling is so amazing. But it's also so critically important to just have that support circle.
Yeah, it
Because
is.
it's pretty unreal what can start happening. And then you're like, wow, am I living on Mars right now? Or is this like everyday life? And oh yeah, okay, this is the new normal. So
But you know what? It's such a living example and testimony. And I did not know see, I just learned something that really that commitment where you just handed it all over and just committed to that in 2011. Because I mean, I know people laugh. I mean, this is a really important part of my life, but it's like I always just say, pray and I get out of my own way. And when you do, and you stop trying to control everything, everyone, and the outcome, you better be ready, because amazing things happen. And it's about you committing to be at the highest place of your soul and what it was put here to do and serve. And Ingrid, I think that exactly just explains why being in your presence is just literally magical. And you make everyone feel that special. So I have to go. I mean, I've never met your husband. I can't wait to meet him. Because it's such
Glenn.
I know.
Thank you.
We got to see him. He's this big burly guy, and we got to look at him through the glass one day. But take us on a journey, my dear. It's amazing what you're doing today. But what I love is the authenticity that you bring into this world. Take us back to something in your life. What was a real pivotal moment for you that may have the biggest impact on why you are who you are today? Anything?
I mean, and thank you for asking that question. I think it's interesting because as a child, I just knew very early on, and there wasn't one specific, I mean, there were lots of things that have happened, but I just had this very deep, deep, deep sense of knowing that I was meant to be a missionary. And I knew, I mean, literally at 3 years old, 4 years old, envisioned myself doing global work. I just did not know what that was going to look like. I didn't know what it was. And that global work, by the way, was always around women and girls. And I did grow up in a very religious family. We grew up in a Catholic household and, very spiritual and all of that. And my parents were exceptional role models. But, I think as I started getting older and older, like the first time that something, and this might sound woo-woo to some of your listeners, but at this stage in my life, I've reached an age where I'm like, I can't not just totally share it how it is, because until that moment in 2011 that I handed my life over in service, I thought I had in the past, but my ego was in the way of it. And so I would have these great successes and then something wouldn't work, and great success, and just, things were just not quite dialed in. And now, not saying every day is perfect, it certainly isn't, but it is amazing when you live this divine path. And when I was probably 5 or 6, my parents took me to a healing mass that are held sometimes in the Catholic religion. My grandmother was in town. She wasn't feeling great, and they thought this might be a neat thing to do. And it was one of those masses where, you almost joke about it because the priest walks up and puts his hand on your head and pushes and says, you are healed, after he says something in, language you don't understand.
Yes.
And so we were joking about this going to the church, and I remember my brother at that time, just like, oh, Ingrid, don't fall over when they push you.
Don't fall over.
Don't fall over. But I remember going up to the altar, and I was there with my grandmother and my parents, and, the priest was walking along, and they'd have people that would catch you when you fell. And they were, standing behind people. And then, but the priest came up to me, and the handlers walked. They didn't stand behind me because I'm just 5 or 6 years old, just this little kid. And I remember standing there, and I was just feeling really, really warm. And there was so much light. And then I don't even, again, remember what he said, but the moment he touched my head, And I told my mom this, like after this happened, but it was literally this golden spindle that started in my big toe and that
Wow.
literally spun around my whole body like a tornado, which is so funny because these days I say, I'll get something done, but it might be a tornado. That's why I need really awesome people around me to make sure it's all organized.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
Yes.
But it was this engulfing in this, God's energy, this brilliant light, this, I remember just golden sparkles, golden light all around me. And the next thing I knew, I literally like opened my eyes and I woke up, I was on the floor and all these people were around me and like, what just happened? And that was the first like manifested connection, if you will, that I very clearly felt touched, if you will. And that has just continued through my life in different forms and fashion. And now it's just such a gift to be able to wake up every day and, have this conversation and, hear my grandfather's voice and just, live from a place of truth and divine calling. So yeah, but I don't think I've shared that story before. So that's a new one.
It is a new one. And I'm sitting here, if you could see my face, my mouth is wide open. I'm like sitting here with my jaw dropped going, oh, because I so believe this can happen. I know this exists. And I think it's all, for many of us, we block our own ability to let it happen because whether we don't believe it can, or we don't submit ourselves to just saying, I'm ready to just be at my highest source, right? And you as a little girl, oh, Ingrid. All right, so take us to, this is fascinating. This explains everything though. Now it all makes sense. Why when I'm with you, and even when Stevie, my husband, got to meet you, and I'm like, doesn't she have this little glow about her? And he goes, I can see it. I totally know what you're talking about.
Oh, thank you. Like I said, what an amazing man. And so handsome, Stevie, if you're listening. Good for you.
Oh, I love that. Wait till he hears that. That's
amazing. I'm so happy for the two of you. It's awesome.
Oh my God, I love that. Wait till he hears that.
Two beautiful people inside and out. It's so neat. Oh yeah.
Thank you, my love. Oh, thank you. So going back to when you were a little girl, but take us forward. Okay, you shared a story. And I don't know that we have time for both of them because they were both so profound, but it's been really, I think every woman and man out there could really relate to this because there was a part I'd like for you to give us just, kind of an overview of what you did when you were at Dell, because you have this amazing background in putting together investments and portfolios, but then it's what happened when you were going to go on stage to speak. Do you remember that story?
Gosh, I'm trying to think. They were so wonderful. And I spoke so often. So I'm trying to think of what happened when I was going to go on stage.
This is the one where you were going to speak at like this big venue with thousands of people. And you said there was something, right? You caught yourself going, I can't tell them about that part of my life. And somebody said, oh, yes, you need to.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, I was about to speak to like 2,000 people. And I was that was so awesome because I was in the green room and, yes. at that stage, people are so amazing. They got handlers and what can I get you? And thank you for being here. And we're so happy you're here. We're all so excited. And this one woman who was actually, with her microphone on and she's walking me up to the stage and I knew what I was going to say. And as I was going to the stage, the woman just said, Miss Vanderveldt, really, we're so honored you're here and excited to have you. And she said, I just have to share with you, though. She said, as excited as we are, she said, so many of the women out there, they almost can't relate to your success. You've been so successful building $100 million ventures, you name it. And they can't really relate. So they are inspired, but, you're not them kind of thing. And it wasn't done in a mean way. It was done in a very wow, thank you for being here. And we just don't totally quite get this,
Yeah.
And she said, the women out there, they're just trying to figure out how to keep the lights on. They're running t-shirt companies or they might have the local bakery. And I stopped in my tracks and I just looked at her and I said, thank you so much for sharing that with me. First of all, I had no idea, but I knew they were all business owners, but I didn't have an idea of that's how they might have felt. And I said, just thank you. And I walked out on stage and I said to the entire audience, this is what just happened. And everything I was about to say to you, I'm no longer going to say to you. And I said, what I want you to hear is that I see you. I hear you. I was once literally broken homeless because I had been trying to build a venture. And this has actually happened to me. I've been broke 3 times in my life, but that one in particular, I literally lost everything and was living out of my car. And I had put everything that I owned into this company to, I believed it. I believed that I could get it to where it needed to go. And I just couldn't finance it fast enough. We couldn't get our sales fast enough. And in the process, I literally lost everything. And I mean, I remember I couldn't even look at homeless people in the eyes because it wasn't, that many years prior to that, I used to volunteer for homeless people, and I couldn't look in their eyes because I was that. And I couldn't bear the idea that there was a real possibility that that was going to be my life from that point forward. And
Oh,
I'm getting teary-eyed as I even say it,
but
because it
it's
was
so real.
it was a friend of mine. Let me take a sip of water.
Yeah, take a sip of water, and just so you know, this is what makes you so magnificent and real. It is, my love. This is what I love about you.
Oh, well, thank you for the reassurance. I do think to myself, and I say to especially women, I'm like, we owe it to each other. We owe it to pay it forward. That, as you start elevating at whatever level you are, if you have $1 in your pocket or you have $1 million or whatever it is, we owe it to our sisters to share these stories and pay it forward, because without that, it's exactly what that woman said to me. I had reached a level that especially women couldn't relate to. And I was so used to being there that I had not forgotten, but just had overlooked, how hard it was to actually get there, because I was just so focused on what I was doing in the moment. And I do think it's from hearing these stories of complete loss. And like for me, I always say everybody needs an Alexis in their life, because it was Alexis Ferguson who saw me and said, Inc, nobody needs to know this is going on. You can come and live in our house and take the time you need and regroup, fake it till you make it. And I literally just laid in bed in a fetal position for days. I drank too much wine. All I wanted to do was just drink and sleep.
Drink and sleep. I think we've all been there in the fetal position.
Yeah, for real. But it was in that moment, just realizing again how critically important it is to have those trusted sisters around you who will give you that safe place and believe in you and be those angels when you don't even believe in yourself. But then that moment of just total truth in realizing that, okay, I have a choice now. My choice is, this is my new normal, or I can choose to believe that this was supposed to be part of my journey, that in fact I am supposed to be a global missionary, even thinking that from being broke and homeless, I'm supposed to go there. And it's in that complete loss that I'm meant to learn that I can walk and meet anyone, anywhere in the world. And at some level, while there are people who I can't even begin to relate to, the Syrian refugees, for example, who lose everything, there's no comparison. But there's a nugget, if you will, that I do know what it's like to feel like everything's over. Your life is over. You've lost it all. And then to be able to learn step by step, day by day, how do you build from that? And then, so that was the story I shared. And it was an unbelievable experience with these 2,000 women. And from that point on, I knew that I needed to openly share more of this, because it is extraordinary then to think, you can go from that to running, $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, $1 billion ventures, be a Fortune 50 executive, be a successful, entrepreneur. Like, how do you do it? And you do it by rolling up your sleeves and digging even deeper, especially on those days when all you want to do is give up, because those are the people who ultimately cross through on the other side. And the exciting thing about it is, as hard as it is, it's available for any one of us to do it. You just have to trust. And that's what you're doing in bringing these stories together, Holly, so that people can learn and connect and just be with our tribe. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I'm just sitting here in awe and thanking you because your story, there's someone listening that might be right now curled up in a ball and laying there feeling like many of us, I think most of the women and men that we get to be so blessed to be connected with today, life didn't come on a silver platter. And yet people see you and they see things and they think, what could they have been through? And by you saying, that moment, Ingrid, that changed your life and changed 2,000 women's lives because you peeled back the layers of the onion and you got honest and real, that's the hope. That's what this is about, is just bringing hope and giving people, letting them know this too will pass. But you do have to, when you think about what was that next 30 days like for you, my friend? Like, so when you think about, we all need an Alexis. I love that line. We all need an Alexis in our life. And I think I've had those myself. But what did that next 30 or 60 days look like? How do you tell somebody to get out of that bed and get out of that curled up fetal position? Because I've been there, but I'm curious for you. What was that?
Gosh, those are really, really tough, aren't they? But so one thing that I started doing, and I actually used this in the 3 times that I was broke, but the first thing was, having that come to Jesus moment of making the decision. Give yourself that time to grieve and understand, love on yourself, that this is part of the process, that of course you want to sleep in the fetal position, drink a lot and just do nothing, of course, but then make the decision. Is this your life or is this a part of your journey? And when that is the decision that you make, then there's a point where that needs to stop. Then it's time to pick yourself out of bed. And one of the things that I would do is I first got back to exercising. Like that actually is a really, really important thing to do, even if it's just go and take a walk. And literally I was talking to somebody this morning who was struggling with something they couldn't get over. And actually on our mastermind call, I was saying that. And I said, when you have those doubts and fears, and I was showing on the video call, literally I walk and I'll shake my hands. You're shaking that negative energy out of you and you're just getting it off you. So I would work out. I would do what Mary Kay Ash said, and that's fake it till you make it. So I started I would make myself look as beautiful as I could, put on the makeup, do my hair, wear my best looking clothes. And I literally picked up the phone and I started scheduling meetings with people, and I started painting a picture of, whatever it was. I was trying to just get contracts in at the time, to get service engagements at the time. But I literally would psych myself up, pump my chest, grin really big in the mirror and say, I got it. You got this, you got this, you got this. And then I'd go into the meeting and I would fake it until I made it. And sure enough, and soon enough, I started getting some contracts in and some money started to flow. And I would still, even as it was happening, that negative thought would creep into my head. And I would love on myself to say, of course, this is going to happen. But F you, you're not allowed here. Excuse my French, but that is what I would say. Sometimes you just got to use it. The negative thought's not allowed here. And I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And so it's this constant, and that's where that rolling up your sleeves and continuing to show up when every ounce of your body tells you no. You keep showing up, you put on the smile, you pump your chest, and you radiate to the world that you got this. Even if it's for a sliver of a moment, you've got this. And soon enough, someone is going to give you that chance to step forward. And then you just take that. And it's that whole saying of how do you eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. And you just the next one and the next one and the next one. And so that was a huge lesson in what I often talk about today and my team jokes about, because I say my greatest gift is also my worst vice. And that is complete lack of patience. So that step-by-step crap is really important, but it is hard as heck to do. So I got to eat my own medicine on that. But that's it. That's it. And that is why most people give up, because it's hard. It's hard. And that's where having your support sisters and the support network all around is so critically important, because they're going to be your angels when you don't believe in yourself.
So true. It's so true. And I love how you said just tiny bites. It's like baby steps, but that 10 minutes of working out, that 10 minutes of putting on some clothes and getting yourself out of the dark gloom of what you're living in. And I say this, but we refuse to live in woe is me. It's about wow is me. But getting there, 10 minutes begins to add up, right? Every day, more and more you start, and your brain starts to think differently. You begin to start living and exuding a little bit of light, and then you feel better about yourself. But it's to your point, you've got to be intentional. Pull up the sleeves, get your butt out of bed, and just know, I used to say to myself, could tomorrow be any worse than yesterday? No. What can I do to make tomorrow? And if it means, sometimes for me, Ingrid, it was forcing myself to get out of the house, because if I'm out around other people, I won't be grued and grumpy. I will be nice, right? And it's like it forces you to laugh. So, so take us fast forward. I know we have only a few minutes, but I have to ask you, will you share with the world all of this magnificence you're doing? And man, we could spend 30 minutes. I could just brag on Ingrid and all that she's done. And you just got picked by Oprah for something amazing. I mean, your life, it just is an endless buffet of amazing things in which you don't even look at it like that because you have no ego. Tell us all about your biggest passion right now. EBW 2020. Tell us what you want from us, what we can do.
Thank you. Oh, that's so neat. That's so fun. So my passion is this calling of empowering 1 billion women by 2020. So it literally is, it is just a divine calling. And this idea of empowering 1 billion women, like what people say, what does that mean? And it's really using the tools, technology, and resources to empower women globally through access to mobile money and mentors, essentially. So our idea is to empower women to live their fullest potential as leaders and as entrepreneurs, but to be financially stable and successful. So it is this movement. I mean, it's turned into this life of its own. It's so amazing to travel anywhere in the world and come off the plane. And these, there are women there that are just from all over and so happy to just be part of EBW. And it's just one of these things that I wake up in the morning and it's all I think about throughout the day. I think about it. I eat, sleep, and drink it. I go to bed. I literally keep my phone and a book next to me on the nightstand because I wake up multiple times during the night, and it's all thoughts on how can I do things better for women? How can I leverage this unbelievable global platform that I've been blessed to be given, and this access to, and this knowledge of, how to create platforms and use technology to reach women, whether they're wildly successful in developed countries or, women in the jungles down in Africa somewhere that are seeing cell phones for the first time. How can I leverage the gifts that I've been given to, first of all, stay out of my own way, not let my ego run with this. It's not that, but instead, attract the right partners, attract the right resources, attract the right offerings that can, in coming together, and being delivered through EBW, really help ease the path for women and girls around the world who, for 90% of the reason, won't start, grow, or scale an idea because of lack of confidence. And we have found, and financial literacy is so big in terms of what we do, because we've seen that 74% of small and medium businesses, especially for women, but they fail because of financial literacy. And then just over this past year, we've learned that women, at this stage in my life, in running tech companies, it's usually me and the guys. And Holly, I'm sure you've got your own experiences too.
Yes.
And so I love working with the guys, but the reality of it is, and I've gotten used to it. I've had to. If I didn't get used to working with guys, I would not be where I am today, because there wasn't somebody that looked like me who was opening up a pathway for me. And so, but what I have found now is 80% of all women do want to have a mentor. That said, the same number, 80%, want to be mentored by other women. Mm-hmm. The challenge is that, just factually speaking, it's not a glass ceiling thing or whatever. It literally is just factually speaking, and history-wise, there's still so few women who've elevated to those levels of building $1 million business or building a company that can reach 1 billion people, or who have sat in the boardroom, or who have raised funding, that having been given the gift of having those opportunities and being partnered up with other women executives who have done that as well, I'm constantly thinking of how can I take this knowledge and further scale it in a way that's understandable and easy, so that we can ease the path for other women who are working to do the same. So this is, it's, sometimes I, talk to, the divine spirit, God, universe, whatever resonates for listeners out there, but my source connection. And I just ask, why I have my moments of feeling really tired, and ask, why? I just need I'm human. I'm a divine spirit living a human experience. And I think, just like everybody else, I need a break too. And then I just hear back, this is what, and I never hear it as I hear it as, this is what we need. This is what we need you to do. This is what we've asked you to do. And just in those moments, take a deep breath and walk forward in faith, and know that we're surrounding you and bringing the things and the resources and whatever else is needed to realize this vision into being. And I will tell you, Holly, that is an extraordinary blessing.
And you are truly living as a messenger and a servant, and listening and doing. And that is why, look at this moment right now. This is exploding around the world. This is a global. So I want everybody to know EBW 2020 is all over the world, and it's happening so fast. And Ingrid and I were just talking, it's happening so fast. It's like, what can we do next to keep it going? And that's where, if anyone out there, Ingrid, wants to get in touch with you, if they want to know how they can become more involved, how would you like them? What would serve best for you to support that? Would you like them to contact you? Do you want them to come to my team first? What would be best for you?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Any and all of the above. So I'd invite you to, thank you. And please check out ebw2020.com for sure, because that community, we have this whole team that's like literally getting ready to start releasing out media with it tied to the community so people can start connecting. There's the Facebook page. And Holly, you and I are so close. My goodness, if they just reach out to you, I know you and I are just scratching the surface on all the things that we're going to do together. That would be amazing, because truly it's that invitation to just be part of the tribe, be part of the sisterhood, and just how can you leverage your own gifts to pay it forward to other women. And then if and as, you start developing your own business or your ideas and you want to do more together, then I would invite you to look at some of the business solutions we have there too. So we'd love for us to be able to help you build and grow successfully. So there's lots there. And, Holly, thank you for asking that question. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, the world needs to know. If the world doesn't already know, they're going to know, because it's happening fast. And I know you're going off to meet with film producers and directors, and there's so many things going on right now, and it's just insane and crazy. But I thank you. I love you from the bottom of my heart. I feel honored to be on the journey with you. So thank you, Ingrid, for just being you. Thank you,
honey. Thanks for having me. And thanks to all of you for listening to this. And Holly, really, truly, thank you very much for everything you're doing in the world, and for especially women. You're amazing. And I love talking with you too. Thank you.
Until next time, darling.
Until next time.
Bye. Thank you for joining me for another awesome celebration of you. If you were inspired by this story, please share it with your family and friends, and hashtag Your Story Matters. I'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment on iTunes. And absolutely, please come to my website, hollydowling.com. Leave a comment there too, and while you're there, pick up your free gift. Most importantly, though, just remember that your life is a gift from God. What you do with it is your gift back.